Hello and welcome to the Science for Sleepy. Tonight we softly step into a question without an answer. If you're enjoying this quiet journey through curiosity and time, consider subscribing. There's always more to explore gently. We'd love to know your location and time zone in the comments. Now close your eyes, let your breath fall into a quiet rhythm. Inhale, exhale. And as your body relaxes, imagine this. A drop of water falling into a perfectly still pond. One ripple, then another, then silence. You do not measure it. You do not time it. You only watch. You feel the ripple, see the movement, and somewhere deep inside, you know something changed. A moment passed. But what is a moment? It has no weight, no smell. You cannot hold it. You cannot store it in a drawer. And yet your entire world is shaped by it. You eat because of time. You sleep because of time. You remember. You imagine. You become. And still, you've never seen it. So tonight, we drift into that invisible current, the one we call time. We will not try to hold it, or prove it, or measure it too tightly. That would make it run. Instead, we let it settle around us like dusk. You begin here in stillness, lying in your bed, listening to the slow pulse behind your ear, noticing how your thoughts begin to lengthen, the way one image blends into another. This too is time. Now picture a clock, not a ticking one, something slower, softer, a spiral maybe, turning gently, endlessly inward, each coil smaller than the last, but it never stops. Or maybe it's not a spiral. Maybe it's a string, a loop, a flicker, a breath. Maybe time has no shape, or maybe it has too many. You think of the sun rising, setting, but the sun never rises. The earth spins. You know this. But every day your body believes the sun is moving. Time here is a dance of shadows. Now imagine you're in a desert. There's no clock, no schedule, just wind and sand. How long is a day when you cannot count it? Or imagine space, pure silence, darkness stretching beyond distance. What is an hour between stars that never set? Time depends on where you are, and how you look, and what you feel. Somewhere in your mind, a door opens, a quiet one, made of light. Step through it. You find yourself in a great hall. No walls, no floor, only moments floating like lanterns. Some are bright, others dim, none are labelled. You reach out to touch one, and suddenly you are there. A childhood memory, a dream, a thought you forgot you had. You let go, and another drifts near, a future version of yourself, reading something, laughing, holding someone's hand. You do not know if it will happen, but you feel it. Time here is not a line, it's a room, a field, a sky. Some physicists believe the past, present and future all exist at once, that nothing is flowing, that time does not move, only we do. But if that's true, then what is now? What makes this moment feel real and the others feel distant? Why do we wake each day into the same rhythm? Why does 1 second feel like forever and an entire year vanish in a breath? You lie still again, listening. The ticking of time, if it ticks at all, is not a sound but a feeling. A texture behind your thoughts, a tug behind your eyes, and just before sleep takes hold, one more image appears. A candle, half burned. It gives no sense of how long it has been burning, or how much is left. Only that it glows, and maybe that's all time is, a glow. You're still, you're warm, you're breathing, and even now, without thinking, your body's keeping time. Inside your chest, a steady rhythm, inside your head, a subtle pulse, inside every cell, a whisper of when. There is a clock beneath your skin, not one you can see, not one that ticks, but a rhythm that governs your waking and your sleeping. It is ancient. We float now into the soft workings of your biology, where time is not read on a watch, but written into your molecules. Imagine a single cell, round and translucent, drifting in a bath of light and nutrients. Inside, tiny motors spin. Ions flow like slow rivers. DNA uncoils, folds, uncoils again. And deep within this tiny world, a cycle begins. Certain genes turn on, then off. A chemical signal rises, then falls. Proteins emerge, interact, dissolve. This cycle takes roughly 24 hours. It is your circadian rhythm. You were born with it. All living things are. Plants, animals, bacteria. Everything that lives with a clock. This rhythm is not a reaction to the sun, it predicts the sun. Even in complete darkness, your body will keep roughly the same cycle. Sleep, wake, sleep again. And your brain nestled deep inside in the hypothalamus holds a master clock. A cluster of neurons just above where your eyes would intersect. The suprachiasmatic nucleus. It listens to light, to temperature, to hormones drifting like messages in the blood. It tells your body, now it's time to rest. Now it's time to rise. Now you should feel hunger. Now you should begin to dream. We float downward now, into the soft rhythm of breath and blood. You watch your pulse slow, your temperature drop. Melatonin seeps like cool fog into your brain. Not just sleepiness, but time. Biological time. If you traveled to another part of the world, your body would resist. This isn't night, it would say. This isn't morning. And it would take days to adjust. Because your body remembers where it is, when it is. Even without clocks, you have time within you. You think of how hunger returns at familiar hours, how your eyes begin to close around the same time each night, how your energy dips with the slow curve of afternoon. You're not living in time, you are made of it. A bird knows when to migrate, a bear when to sleep, a flower when to bloom. Not because it sees a calendar, but because its cells are keeping time, and you too bloom and close in your own invisible rhythm. Now picture this. You're floating in a pool, alone, in darkness. No sun, no clock, no sound. What would happen to your sense of time? Experiments have shown that people in such isolation will begin to lose track. Hours feel like minutes. Minutes feel like days. The internal rhythm drifts, but it does not vanish. The body still pulses, still cycles, still marks its slow chemical measure. Even in silence, you are not without time. Because time is not only out there, it is in here. And now, as you lie in your bed, your body prepares for the next rhythm. The cooling, the slowing, the drifting down. It's happening already. You can feel it. Let it happen. Your thoughts do not need to keep time. Your cells are doing it for you. Close your eyes just a little more and drift with us into your own mind, not your memories, not your plans, but the quiet machinery underneath it all. Your brain does not watch time. It invents it, not deliberately, not dishonestly, just differently. You're not a camera capturing life in a reel of seconds. You're a storyteller, assembling fragments into something that feels like now. Let's imagine you're sitting by a window. Rain is falling in a slow, soft rhythm. Outside, someone walks by. Inside, a kettle begins to whistle. You glance at the clock. All of this feels smooth, connected, ordered. But your brain didn't perceive those things in perfect sequence. It took flashes of sensation light, sound, pressure, and knitted them together, like a loom weaving meaning from thread. There is no single now in the brain. Different parts handle different signals at different speeds. Light reaches your eyes almost instantly. Sound takes longer. Touch, even longer still. And yet, You don't notice the delay. You experience it all at once. The brain adjusts, predicts, compensates. It delays your perception by just a moment long enough to gather all the signals and line them up. Your present is actually already in the past. We walk now through a hallway in your mind. Each door opens to a different room. One is tuned to motion, the flow of change. Another is tuned to duration, the stretch of seconds. Another to order this before that before this. And they don't always agree. You've felt it before. A car crash in slow motion. A holiday that vanishes in a blink. A single boring minute that feels like hours. Time bends in experience. When your heart races, time slows. When you're relaxed, it speeds up. When you're surprised, it stretches. When you're bored, it loops. Your brain is not measuring time. It is painting it. You see it in music, how a pause feels like forever, how rhythm moves your emotions. You feel it in dreams where minutes stretch into entire stories. You sense it when waiting for news, each second landing heavy, deliberate. Now let's go even deeper, into a condition called temporal binding, when two separate events are perceived as one. You press a button and a light flashes. The light is delayed by a fraction of a second, but you perceive them as simultaneous. Your brain edits reality for coherence, because for your mind, time isn't just about accuracy, it's about meaning. The brain asks not just when, but why. You remember the past, but each time you reconstruct it, not like retrieving a file, but like drawing from fragments. And the future, you imagine it, project it, based on patterns, memory in reverse. So what of the present? There is no fixed moment in the brain, only windows, about 3 seconds long. Your conscious mind samples reality in these chunks, smoothing the gaps. You never feel the seams, but they're there. Now imagine a strobe light. Your hand moving under it looks like a series of frozen gestures. That's how your brain sees too, just with softer edges. Reality isn't continuous, it's sampled. But the mind is a masterful editor, so you never see the flicker, you only feel the flow. And this flow, this feeling of time passing, may be the greatest illusion of all. You're not moving through time like a train on a track. You're staying still, and time is being drawn through you. Or maybe neither is true. Maybe the flow is just the echo of your thoughts lining up, one after another whispering, now, now, now. And between those whispers, eternity. You are floating now, weightless, still, and wide awake inside a question. If time feels like a flow, then what if there is no flow at all? We drift gently into the fabric of the cosmos, not to tear it, not to map it, just to notice, to feel its shape. The universe as we know it is built on space and time. Together they form what physicists call spacetime, a smooth, continuous fabric in which everything happens. But here's the quiet secret. Spacetime doesn't require a present. There is no official now written into the physics. Einstein's theory of relativity tells us that the present is not universal. There is no single clock that rules them all, no moment that applies everywhere to everyone. Two observers moving differently will disagree on what's happening at the same time. That's not a metaphor, that's reality. Let's imagine you're on a train, moving fast, you strike a match. To you, the flare of light and the hiss of ignition happen together, but someone standing on the platform watching through the window sees something else. For them, the light reaches one end of the train before the other. The timing is off, the order rearranged. Whose version is correct? Both. Time is relative. There is no single, objective present. It depends on how you move, where you stand, what you measure. This means the universe contains all moments past, present, future as a whole, like a book already written. You do not read all pages at once, but they are all there. Some physicists call this the block universe. Picture it now, a vast cube, every axis filled, length, width, height, and time. Each event a breath, a thought, a falling star has its own coordinates. Each moment exists in its own place in the block. Nothing vanishes, nothing moves. We do not flow through the block. We experience it, slice by slice, like a needle tracing through a record. You feel the moment you're in. But all other moments behind you, ahead of you, are still part of the record. They haven't disappeared, they haven't not happened yet. They just aren't your now. And if your now is different from someone else's, what is now, really? Just a frame, just a lens. Your present is not universal, it's personal. Now, imagine a house filled with clocks. Every room has its own tick. One is fast, one is slow, one pauses every hour, another counts only in whispers. You move through it, you feel time, but there is no one time, there is only timing. We pause here, hovering between moments. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, just this strange in-between. The world still looks familiar, but the idea of now feels looser. You watch a memory replay, you imagine a future possibility. Both feel present in the mind. Perhaps your brain is not walking through time. Perhaps it is tuning a radio, finding one frequency, then another. The song is already there. You're simply choosing which part to hear. And maybe, just maybe, every moment is still playing. We pause here in the gentle current of thought. And now we ask the question not with words but with feeling. If time flows, what is it that's really moving? Let yourself imagine the way water moves past a rock. Smooth, constant, always forward. That's how we picture time, a river carrying us along, sweeping yesterday behind us, pulling tomorrow closer. But what if the river isn't moving? What if it's you, dipping your hand into still water, sensing movement that isn't there? We drift now through a frozen landscape, not cold, just motionless. You're walking across a still plain. Above you the stars don't twinkle, they shine, solid, fixed. You look around and everything is paused, a bird mid-wing beat, a leaf mid-fall, a smile just beginning. And yet you feel something shift inside, a tension, a readiness, a whisper of time. But maybe that's just your mind stitching frames into film. There's a theory some physicists and philosophers quietly hold that time doesn't flow, that all motion, all change, is an illusion born of consciousness passing from one state to the next, like a slideshow. Each image is whole and still. But because you see them in sequence, you believe they move. What if the universe is like that? A collection of frozen frames, and your awareness, your sense of self simply visits one after the other. Not a train riding through the tunnel of time, but a light flickering across pages already written. No flow, just presence, then presence again. You think of music, a melody. Each note is still, but together they create motion. You think of film, a series of still photographs 24 every second. Yet to your eye, the world moves, laughs, cries, dances. You think of memory, how easily your mind replays it, not as fragments, but as flow. But is it real, or is it stitching? Now picture a library vast, endless, each book a moment, not a chapter, not a story, just a single moment. You pick one, open it, experience everything within, sights, sounds, feelings. Then it vanishes, and another appears. You're not carrying time, you're carried by experience. Maybe time is not a river, Maybe time is the sea, still, wide, quiet, and the sense of flow, that heartbeat pulse that tells you life is moving forward, is only your own light dancing over the surface. We look around again, everything's still, yet somehow we still breathe, still wonder. If time doesn't flow, why do we? You're lighter now, drifting through quiet space. Not outer space, not cold and airless, but the invisible space between moments. And in this stillness, you begin to feel something subtle like pressure. Not against your skin, but around you, through you, bending something you cannot quite name. This is where we begin to feel time bend. You float beside a mountain now, massive and ancient. The air thins, the wind softens. You place your hand on stone cold, steady, unmoving. And below, far below, a clock ticks faster. A truth whispered by Einstein, now confirmed again and again. Gravity slows time, not in theory, in reality. The stronger the gravity, the slower time flows. The higher you are on a plane, on a mountain, in orbit, the faster your seconds pass, even if just by fractions. We imagine a pair of clocks, one deep beneath the Earth's surface, one aboard a satellite, each ticking, each counting. But after a while, the tiniest difference. The spacefarer ages faster. The subterranean clock lags behind. No mistake, no malfunction, just curved space-time. Because gravity isn't just force, it's shape. Mass bends the fabric of space-time, like a marble on a rubber sheet. The more massive the object, the deeper the well. Time itself pools and stretches. You float now above a black hole. From your vantage, it is perfectly still, a dark circle rimmed by frozen starlight. But time, here, breaks. If someone fell toward it slowly, inevitably you would see them slow stretch, pause at the edge forever, their fall never completing, their clock stopped from your view, but to them, they fall in moments, they pass the threshold, and what waits beyond we do not know. Because time does not simply tick here, it bends. We drift back toward gentler gravity, toward Earth again, where a GPS satellite must account for relativity adjusting, for the way time runs faster high above than on the ground. Without that adjustment, your map would be wrong, by miles. So even now, when you check your phone, you're using curved time, not flat, not steady, not equal, and you, your body, is not immune. When you run, when your heart beats faster, when your blood moves with urgency, time slows, tiny fractions, but real. Speed, like gravity, bends time. You're not separate from the fabric, you're sewn into it. You think of astronauts, orbiting far above, experiencing time just a little faster, returning just a little older. You think of the Earth, circling the sun circling the center of the galaxy, every step of motion warping time, however slightly. The cosmos does not agree on what a second is, but still we live by them, count them, obey them, trust them, even though they are elastic, stretchable, bendable. We move now through this pliable field. Time is not rigid, it responds to weight, to motion, to where you are. So when someone says, time is the same for all of us, you may smile, because now you know it isn't. The air is thin up here, crisp and quiet. You're standing on a mountain peak, breath visible in slow curls, heart steady in your chest. Below you, the world spreads out in soft blues and greys, and somewhere far beneath, a clock ticks just a little more slowly. This isn't a metaphor. Time is different up here, not by much, just nanoseconds. But the higher you go, the faster you age. Not in feeling, not in aches or lines or years you'll notice, but in numbers, in the rhythm of atoms, your atoms. We sit quietly with that truth now. There is no universal time, only local time. Each place on Earth has its own subtle tempo. The satellite in orbit ticks slightly faster than the village clock tower. The basement computer ticks slightly slower than your rooftop phone. And yet, we never feel the difference, because we live inside our own local time. Your heart keeps its beat. Your thoughts flow one after another. Your moments seem smooth. But if someone lived at the top of a mountain for 100 years and someone else at sea level, they would not age at exactly the same pace. We're talking about fractions of fractions, dust on the scale of time, but they're real, measured, proven, felt by machines. So we pause here at altitude and breathe. You place your hand on a stone warmed by the sun, and somewhere, deep below, another stone waits in shadow, both still, both silent, but one, ever so slightly, younger. We drift again, this time to the International Space Station, floating hundreds of kilometers above Earth. Time flows faster there, just a touch. But the astronauts are also moving. Fast, 17,000 miles per hour fast, and speed slows time, so the effects stack, cancel, shift. Time is not just about height, or speed, or gravity. It is a dance between all three. A passenger in a plane flying west experiences time differently from someone walking east. Tiny shifts, unnoticed, but layered, like music. You think of all the clocks in the world, quietly disagreeing. Your wristwatch, your grandmother's wall clock, the atom counting instruments at research stations. No two are quite the same, and yet the illusion of perfect time persists, because you are not built to feel the difference. You are built to feel presence. Now here, this. But science lets us see beyond that veil, lets us hear the dissonance beneath the harmony. Even your heartbeat, so regular, so familiar, can be slowed or quickened by location, by motion, by perception. We return to the mountaintop. The air is thinner, the stars feel closer, and somewhere in the stone, a clock ticks softly, not louder, just sooner. Maybe time is not one thing, but many, a layer in each place, a thread through each object, a breath at each height, and you, walking between them, never quite know how far you've moved, but your atoms do, your bones, your sleep, all of them, measuring moments no human eye will ever see. Still, they know. Now we drift even. Higher above mountains, above the clouds, past satellites and silent orbiting stations, into the pure darkness beyond. Here, in this space, there is no air, no sound, no up, no down. And floating beside you is something ancient and small, a photon, a single particle of light, weightless, restless, a whisper from a distant star. It does not age, it does not tire, it does not slow, and in a way, it does not experience time at all. We hover beside it now, just for a moment, and try to understand. This photon was emitted from the surface of a star, perhaps our sun, perhaps 1,000,000 light years away. It began its journey eons ago. Since then, it has moved always at the speed of light, always forward until, perhaps, it touches your eye, or a leaf, or a telescope. But from the photon's perspective, if such a perspective could exist, no time has passed. From emission to absorption, instant, it crossed galaxies without experiencing a single second. Because at the speed of light, time as we understand it does not flow. Einstein showed us this. The faster you move, the slower your time. The speed of light is the cosmic speed limit, and the point at which time, in the equations, seems to stop. Now imagine being that photon. You're released from a flame. You travel for 10 billion years, and then you're caught in the lens of a telescope. But for you, it was immediate. No weight, no motion, just cause and effect collapsed into one point. This is not how you live, but it's how the universe works. Time is not absolute. It depends on velocity. You sit still, time passes. You walk, it slows. You fly, it bends. You reach the speed of light, it stops. We cannot reach that speed. We are made of mass, and mass resists. But light is free of aging, free of delay, free of before and after. And so we float with it now, through this vast silence, watching it carry information across space, a star flickering in your eye, a signal bouncing off glass, and everywhere it goes, it carries the same truth, that time is not required, only connection. You look down now at Earth small and blue beneath your feet, the sun behind you, the moon ahead, and between them, light moves without pause. But if you were that photon, you wouldn't see the journey. Just a start, just an end, no middle. This forces us to ask a gentler, stranger question. If the fastest thing in the universe doesn't experience time, what does that mean for everything slower? Is time simply what happens to the things that cannot keep up? Are we the ones creating delay by existing below the limit? You look once more at the light, so familiar, so old, so fast, and you wonder, softly, if time begins to vanish the faster you go, what then is speed? Now we fall gently not through space but through scale, from the speed of light to something smaller, much smaller. We descend into the fabric beneath all others, where motion itself is no longer smooth. This is quantum time, not a river, not a rhythm, but a flicker. We arrive in a space where even time might be made of pieces, at this scale unimaginably small. At lengths we call the Planck scale, our ideas about time begin to blur. The continuous becomes granular, the smooth becomes pixelated. It is as if the film of reality is not a reel but a flipbook. What if time itself is made of frames? You cannot feel it, you cannot measure it, not yet. But some theories suggest that time doesn't pass, it ticks. Discrete, staggered, staccato, a minimum interval, allegro videb lehetzej pilanat. Imagine that, a quantum of time, a single click of the universe's smallest clock, not one you can see, but one every atom obeys. You drift beside a single particle now, not a planet, not a cell, but a quark, one of the smallest things known. It vibrates, fluctuates, interacts, and when it changes state, something happens that we might call time. But it's not a smooth passage, it's a jump, a transition, a shift in probability. Here, events don't unfold like hands on a watch, they occur abruptly. We ask the quiet question now, is time something that emerges, not something that exists? Does it arise only when changes occur? When nothing changes, no vibration, no movement, no decay, is time even real? Some physicists believe that at the quantum level, the laws of physics make no distinction between past and future, that there is no arrow, no preference. A particle's behavior can look the same forward or backward. In this world, time doesn't march, it shuffles, unpredictable, non-linear, beautifully strange. You think of particles entangled distant twins connected across space. One is touched and the other responds, instantly, as if space and time do not matter. Does time even apply there? Or are we watching something older than time, something deeper? And what about you, the observer? Your awareness creates frames, categories, meaning. You define before and after. But maybe the universe doesn't. Maybe time is not a fundamental ingredient of reality. Maybe it's a recipe we use when we observe the ingredients. You think of a book again, every page already written, but the story only appears when you begin to read. Quantum physics whispers the same mystery. That time may not exist unless we're looking, and even then, only piece by piece. Like stepping stones across fog, you never see the full bridge, only the next step, and still you walk. You're dreaming now, not fully asleep, not fully awake, a place in between where time feels soft. A hallway opens in your mind. No walls, no floor, only motion. And in this dream, time doesn't tick. It bends, it folds, it turns back on itself. You are walking through your own space-time. Not the space-time of stars and gravity, but something closer, more intimate. The space-time of thought. In dreams, minutes stretch into days. A single image becomes a whole life. A feeling becomes a world. You drift backward into a childhood memory only to realize it never happened quite that way. You leap forward into a future that hasn't arrived, but you feel it, as if it has. And between these strange frames there is no clock. Time in dreams is not linear. You're not bound to before and after. You're weightless in a story that rewrites itself as you move through it, and yet it feels real. You look at a window and it becomes a doorway. You hear a voice and it belongs to someone you miss, even if they've been gone for years. You fly, but only because you never asked why you couldn't. Dreams do not ask for consistency. They offer experience, and time, here, follows your attention. Where you look, it forms. Where you feel, it expands. We drift now through the sleeping brain, that quiet cathedral of neurons and pulses. Your internal clock still ticks. Your eyes flicker behind closed lids. Your body keeps its rhythm. But inside the dream, the sun can rise twice. The story can loop. You can grow old, then young again, in the span of a breath. Why? Because your brain does not need time to be accurate, only meaningful, and meaning obeys emotion, not precision. A moment of fear lasts forever. A moment of joy vanishes too fast. Even awake you feel it, but in dreams you live it. Scientists have studied this. Brain waves, blood flow, the electrical storms of REM sleep. But they still do not know how time feels in dreams. They only know it's different. You're not asleep in a void. You're moving through something personal, a landscape drawn from memory, emotion, invention. And that landscape includes time twisted, reformed, reshaped to fit the story. You remember things in dreams that never happened. You expect events as if they're destined. You wake up uncertain whether you've lost time or lived more of it. Perhaps dreaming is what time feels like, without rules, a test field, a free form, a soft place where time isn't measured, only felt. We drift once more through your dreaming self. You are floating, not forward, not backward, just deeper. And even though the clock beside your bed has moved only a minute, you have lived through something timeless, because dreams don't care for seconds. They are written in sensation, and sensation, it seems, has its own calendar. You wake slowly, but not into morning, into memory. It arrives without invitation, a scent, a shadow, a phrase half remembered, and suddenly you are somewhere else. Not a copy of the past, not a replay, something warmer, stranger, more alive. You're not recalling time, you're rebuilding it. Because memory doesn't store time like a tape, it paints it, fresh, each time you look. We drift now into the folds of your brain, gentle wrinkled valleys where moments wait to be born again. You think of your first school, the sound of the door, the cold of the floor, the voice of someone long gone. You're not seeing the past, you're constructing it. and like a sculptor with a soft hand, you shape the edges without knowing. You fill gaps with feeling, you adjust lighting, you add meaning. Every memory is a blend truth and interpretation, fact and emotion, anchored not just in what happened, but in who you are now. And this is the secret. Your past isn't behind you, it's within you, fluid, editable. Even your earliest memories are updated. Each time you recall them, you change them. Not by choice, by nature. Neurons fire, patterns emerge, the brain re-encodes the experience, and in doing so, it rewrites the timeline. So what does this say about time? If the past can be reshaped, if it's not fixed, if it bends with each recollection, was it ever a line to begin with? Or was it always a landscape visited, not travelled? You sit quietly now, remembering a conversation. But was it in summer or spring? Was the window open? Was the light soft or sharp? It doesn't matter. Because the time you're experiencing now in memory is real, to you, and the feelings it stirs may be more accurate than the details ever were. In this way, memory does not preserve the past, it makes it live again, and sometimes it creates what never happened at all. We call these false memories, but are they false? If the feeling is true, if a memory shapes you, even if the moment didn't happen that way or at all, then it is real in effect, if not in event. This softens our certainty, it humbles our story, because the past is not a record, it's a relationship, between you and then, between you and what you believe then was. Now breathe slowly. Recall the smell of rain on pavement, or the sound of footsteps echoing in a hallway you haven't walked in years. What you feel now is a time that no longer exists, and yet it touches you. So we ask gently, if the past can reach into now, through memory, through feeling, then maybe time doesn't move, maybe it echoes, and we are the chambers it rings in. We drift now from memory into something more delicate, more uncertain, the future. You feel it, even now a tug forward, a quiet gravity, the sense that something is waiting just ahead. But how do you know it's there? You've never touched the future, you've never seen it, and yet you imagine it constantly. You're always preparing, always rehearsing, always predicting, not in words, not always consciously, but your brain is always leaning forward. This is not a flaw, it is a feature. You think of stepping into a room. Instantly your mind sketches the space beyond the door. You picture where the chair might be, how someone might look, whether the light will feel warm or cold. You're already living a few seconds ahead. It happens when you walk, when you drive, when you speak. A constant silent calculation, micro futures, invisible drafts. You're not just reacting to time, you're anticipating it, and sometimes creating it. Your brain uses the same circuits for imagining the future as it does for remembering the past. In many ways, they are mirrors. Memory gives us the raw material, imagination arranges it, and we live inside that projection. But what does that mean for time? If you can feel the future, anticipate it, fear it, shape it, is it already there? Some thinkers believe it might be. In the block universe we visited before, the future is just as real as the past, already written, already existing. You do not approach it, you simply experience it. Like walking into a room you've never seen but one that was built long ago. Others believe the future is open, a web of possibilities, branches not yet chosen, and still others suggest time itself is an illusion, and what we call future is only potential energy rearranging itself in unfamiliar patterns. But even if time isn't real, your experience of it is. You worry, you hope, you prepare. Your imagination is your most powerful clock. You dream of things that have never happened, and somehow they move you. You picture a version of yourself years from now in a different city with different people. Maybe you're reading a book you haven't found yet. Maybe you're planting something or letting something go. That vision feels real. It might not come to pass, but the feeling is already here. Time is not only about when, it is about what you expect, and your expectations shape the path you walk. So we ask, if you are moved by the future even before it arrives, then isn't it part of your present? Isn't it already happening in you? You're not simply pulled forward, you reach forward. And sometimes what you reach for reaches back. And now we turn gently toward the arrow. Not a weapon, not a force, just a direction. You feel it even now, the way your breath moves forward, never backward. The way a glass shatters but never reassembles. The way a candle burns down but not up. Time seems to point one way, forward. But why? The laws of physics, the deep equations beneath everything, don't seem to require that. They can run forward or backward. They work just as well in reverse. So why does your coffee cool down but never heat up on its own? Why do you grow older but never younger? Why do memories point behind you and not ahead? The answer, soft and strange, may lie in something called entropy. Entropy is not chaos. It is a measure of possibility, of how many ways a thing can be arranged. A tidy room has low entropy, a messy one has high entropy, and in this universe, entropy always increases. It is not a rule we imposed, it is a tendency that unfolds. Ice melts, paper burns, stars collapse, not because time flows forward, but because forward is the direction in which entropy grows. We are creatures that exist within that growth. We ride it like a current, not because the universe pushes us forward, but because forward is the direction where things unfold more freely, where there are more possibilities, and perhaps where we can survive. You think again of the broken egg. You can picture the whole egg and the moment it falls, but you've never seen it leap back into the shell. Not because it's impossible, but because it's so unlikely, so rare in its arrangement that the universe almost never chooses it. So we don't remember it, and so we believe time moves forward, because that's where disorder leads. You walk now through a garden, leaves fall, wind scatters them, you could pick them up, you could restore the order, but the natural direction is toward the scattering, and so it is with heat, with memory, with breath, with bones. Entropy is not evil, it's not loss, it's the measure of freedom, of how many ways the pieces can dance, and from it, life emerges, because life is a kind of local reversal, a temporary delicate ordering of things. You're a small island of low entropy, moving through a sea that rises, and this is why time feels like a line, because we are built on arrangements that change only once. You remember the past because your brain has structure. That structure was formed by experiences. It cannot be undone, so your story only plays one way, but somewhere in the math, that story could be run in reverse and still make sense. Only the arrow of entropy makes it feel real. So when you feel time move, when you feel yourself carried forward, you're feeling the universe relax, bit by bit, moment by moment, order dissolving into possibility, and in the quiet center of that flow, you exist. You drift now into something still, something wide, not a line, not a flow, not even a rhythm, just a block. Not cold, not hard, but complete. Imagine the entire universe not as an explosion, not as a race, but as a shape, a four-dimensional shape, everything that ever happened and ever will happen, already existing. This is the block universe. We do not travel through it, we live inside it. Every second you've ever known, your first breath, your last dream, a joke you haven't heard yet, all of it already there, like rooms in a house you haven't entered. The past doesn't vanish, the future isn't waiting, they are simply elsewhere in the block. We move now not forward, but inward, not through time, but through location in time. Each moment is its own coordinate, each thought is its own point. From the outside, if such a view were possible, the block would shimmer with infinite stillness, galaxies curling, minds waking, stars collapsing, eyes closing, all part of the same fixed whole. And you are a thread through that whole, a cross-section of experience, a diagonal slice of light and breath. What you call now is simply the place where your consciousness is, a spotlight on one part of the sculpture. You believe time moves because you are moving through it. But what if you're not moving at all? What if it is only your attention shifting, frame to frame, breath to breath, moment to moment, and everything else is already there? We do not age. We exist in ordered slices, like pages of a novel, like chords in a song already written. It feels strange, doesn't it? To imagine the future already existing, to imagine your memories still alive somewhere untouched by forgetting. But there's something gentle in this view too. Nothing is lost, nothing is undone. Everything that was still is, even you, the child you once were, the laughter that once filled a hallway, the goodbye that still echoes. It's all still present, just not here. We're used to thinking of ourselves as travelling, birth, life, death. But what if those are simply coordinates? Not a path, but a pattern. Not a journey, but a sculpture. You rest now in this idea, not to prove it, not to defend it, but simply to feel it. Imagine time not as something that slips through your fingers, but something you're already inside, complete, whole, held. And the only thing that changes is which part of it you remember to look at. We drift now, not through theory, not through the cosmos, but into something softer. Your breath, your thoughts, your lived experience of time. Because whatever physicists say, whatever equations whisper, your life still moves forward. You still wake, still eat, still grieve, still grow. So what is this time that you feel so deeply? We step gently into your consciousness, not the brain, not the neurons, but the quiet seat of awareness. Here, time is not something measured, it is something felt. You feel it in waiting, in longing, in joy that passes too quickly, in pain that stays too long. You do not need a clock to know time has passed. You feel it in the weight of your own breath. This is psychological time, the tempo of experience, and it does not follow any clock you've ever known. A moment of fear stretches into forever. A perfect evening ends in a blink. A day of boredom seems to never end, and still, it passes, not equally, not evenly, not fairly, but it passes. Your sense of time is built from focus, from emotion, from the amount of memory your brain lays down. More change equals more memory equals a longer seeming span. That's why time feels faster as you age. New experiences slow time. Repetition speeds it up. A summer as a child felt endless. A summer now feels like a sigh, not because the days are shorter, but because they are less new, less full of difference, less mapped in memory. And so the clock moves the same, but you do not. You think of grief, how it stretches time. Every moment is soaked in awareness. The weight of it lengthens the hours. You think of falling in love, how days seem like minutes, or of being lost in a task, how time disappears. This is not illusion. This is attention. Time is not something you see. It's something you are. We pause now with this image. You're sitting in a quiet room. Outside, the world moves cars, clouds, clocks. Inside, your mind slows. You breathe, you listen, you think. And in that space, time becomes something else. Not a number, not a countdown, but a quality. Software dimensional. Felt more than seen. Perhaps time isn't real in the way we think, but it is real in how we feel. And feeling may be the truest measure of all. We drift now into a deeper silence. Not the silence of sleep or of distance, but the silence that lives beneath assumptions. The ones we build everything on. And the one we arrive at tonight is this. What if time isn't real at all? Not just bendable, not just personal, but not fundamental. Many physicists carefully, quietly are beginning to ask this question, because at the smallest scales of reality, time seems to fall away. The equations that describe particles, waves, quantum fields, they work without time. They describe relationships, probabilities, interactions, but not when. So we ask, what if time is not a thread in the fabric of the universe, but an illusion woven by the mind? A kind of scaffolding we use to make sense of change, a narrative we project onto the raw flow of existence. Imagine now a painting vast, complex, shimmering with light and shade. If you trace it slowly with your eye, it might feel like a journey, left to right, shape to shape, darkness to brightness. But the painting doesn't move. You do. Could the universe be like that? Not a happening, but a being. A whole that simply is and we move through it, like fingers across texture, like eyes across canvas. Some theories of physics like loop quantum gravity suggest that time doesn't exist at the most fundamental level, that it is emergent, like temperature, like colour. Not something out there, but something that appears when enough tiny pieces act together. A forest is green, but no single molecule is green. Temperature is hot, but no single particle is hot. And maybe time is the same. It appears only when many changes are seen at once, only when we look, only when we compare. Without observers, without reference points, without clocks, there is no before or after, only a state. Now imagine this, a universe without time, no ticking, no moving, no waiting. Just an intricate, interrelated web of cause and effect not ordered by seconds but by structure. It's a strange idea, hard to hold, because your brain doesn't know how to not feel time. Even in this moment it flows. But maybe that's the trick. Maybe it's not real in the external sense, only real enough to keep your story coherent. We ask now, if time is an illusion, but you feel it, does that make it false? Or does it make it yours? You're not lying to yourself. You're translating the inexpressible. You feel time because you need to, because you're made of memory, prediction, awareness, and all three require the shape of a timeline. So even if the cosmos does not keep time, you do, and maybe that's enough. We float now in a place with no clocks, no calendars, no seasons, no rhythm but your breath. And in this silence, we ask something closer to the chest. Are you continuous? Is there a line inside you stretching from birth to now unbroken, unshaken, ever-flowing? Or are you made of moments, distinct, unrepeatable, collected like drops of dew on the branch of your awareness? You've always assumed you are oneself, moving forward, remembering, but look closer. The child you were, are they still you? Their voice, their thoughts, their fears. Do they live in you? Or were they folded away, kept in a pocket of memory, not experience? And the person you'll be, do they exist already in pieces inside you, waiting for arrangement, for the right weather of time and change? We drift now through a quiet room lined with mirrors. Each one holds your reflection, but not of your face, of yourselves. A moment of joy, a decision made, a word not said, each a complete you and none identical. So what holds you together? If time is not smooth, if identity is not a line, what makes you feel whole? Some suggest it is memory, the echo chamber where each new moment checks itself against the last. You are the narrator, remembering the last sentence as you write the next. Others suggest it is attention, that you're not a solid thread, but a flickering flame leaping from moment to moment, holding shape only in motion. Still others wonder if there is no continuous you at all, just a sequence of frames, each believing it is the whole movie. And yet, you feel whole. You wake each day remembering, choosing, becoming. That feeling of self may be the strongest illusion time gives, the sense that I am, I was, I will be. But maybe identity is not a river, but a kaleidoscope. Patterns that repeat just long enough to feel familiar, then shift and shift again. You're not a single thing. You're a slow eruption of presence, and as each moment arrives, you're made again. Each time slightly different, each time real. So we ask softly, are you passing through time, or is time passing through you? Is your life a journey, or a gallery of stillnesses, each one held briefly, then gone? We look once more into the mirror, and perhaps we see not a reflection, but a pause, a single frame, held in the breath of now, and in the next moment another you, whole again, and now we are here, at the edge, the soft edge where thinking dissolves and only being remains. Not the end of time, but the end of needing to ask. You float gently in this final moment of wonder, surrounded not by answers, but by the deep hum of not knowing. Because maybe that's all time ever was, a question wearing a clock. We have drifted through so many shapes, rivers, blocks, threads, mirrors, dreams, and each one told a different story of what time could be. We've seen how gravity bends it, how speed dilates it, how memory reshapes it, how imagination stretches it. We've touched the photon that feels no time at all. We've entered the stillness where time might be made of steps, not flow. We've stood in the garden where entropy grows, pointing us gently forward. And we've imagined a universe where time is not real, yet the feeling of it fills everything. So where does that leave us? Not lost, not certain, just quiet. Because maybe the purpose of time isn't to be understood, but to be held, lightly, gently, like a snowflake before it melts. You're not a machine ticking through seconds. You're a field of experience, not located in time, but generating it. With every thought, every breath, every feeling that whispers, this matters now. Time is not behind you, not ahead of you. It is around you, and somehow, beautifully, within you. So if you ever feel like time is racing, stop, not to catch it, but to remember it moves because you do, and it slows when you let it. Let the moment stretch now, longer, softer. No need to move forward, no need to hold on. The world will continue, the clocks will keep ticking, the sun will rise again. But here, in this pause, you are timeless. And maybe that's where the real story lives. Not in the seconds, but in the stillness between them. And now, we let go. Let time soften. Let questions drift. Let every thought unravel like silk in warm water. You've wandered through clocks and constellations, through mirrors of memory and fields where time forgets to move. You've watched light stall and particles blink, and your own breath become the quiet rhythm of the cosmos. The idea of time, so sharp by day, now folds like paper and rests beside you in the dark. There's nothing to remember, nothing to expect, only this moment, and the one after, and the one after that, each arriving like a feather, each fading like mist. You're not late, you're not early, you're exactly where you are. Feel your chest rise, feel it fall. The clock is quiet now, the stars are slow, and your mind is ready to sleep.